All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the return edition of the No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast. We've been off the last couple weeks, but we are back. The greatest tag team in wrestling podcast history. That's Josh Kimmel. I'm Bobby Finstock. Josh, how you been, brother?
Been pretty good, man. Been crushing it. I've already done 3 podcasts since the hurricane, since I've been back. So I'm going to keep this short and simple. Thank you to everyone that's reached out to me over the past week and a half. It means a lot. I'm not going to name you again because I already did it 2 shows into this week. So you don't get three. But thanks, everyone. I'm back, man. How about you, Bobby? How you been?
Hanging in there, man. You were dealing with, of course, the hurricane from where you were located. Glad you're doing okay. I was in Florida for other reasons. Obviously, I've been on a couple shows now since I've been back. With the passing of my stepfather, and same to as to you. Thank you for everyone who's reached out for your sympathies and just checking in. More than grateful and thankful. I got to give a shout out to the OUS crew, to the Caneswear crew, Finstanza, all those who kept the network going as I was offline. It means the world to me. There was nothing better, Josh, than popping on at the end of the day, going on to FTSN and seeing we were live. One of the shows was live. I
Yeah.
mean, that is pretty freaking cool. And so, shout out to those guys and to everyone really as a part of the STFN family who reached out and offered support or help in any way possible. It was truly awesome. And so, I'm grateful for all of this, and I'm grateful to be doing this with you. I have, not trying to get mushy, but I missed you, bro. I enjoy doing these shows with you. I really do. I was going crazy watching these McMahon documentaries. Even when I was down in Miami before the hurricane, I was like, maybe I'll do a show from the hotel room because I wanted to get to talk about this. And so I'm excited that you finally have power. I'm excited that we're able to sit down and do this and talk some professional wrestling. Uh, Before we get into that McMahon documentary, let's get into some current events, especially SmackDown last night.
Yes.
That was fun. There's a different vibe in the air for professional wrestling. Just your quick thoughts, man, on SmackDown last night. Jey Uso making a surprise appearance, finally reuniting, and not on TV, reuniting on TV, not like
hmm
reuniting as a team, but
hmm
Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa. Just give me your thoughts on that very quick.
Yeah. I was super excited to watch that episode of SmackDown. First off, because the debut of the not the I guess the debut, yeah, the debut of the Motor City Machine Guns. Like excited for that. That's a long time coming for me. I've been watching them since TNA. I know we've discussed
Yep.
this before. I see a lot of people on social media. Yes, I don't post, but sometimes I do go on there, and I see people going, "Who are these people?" I heard they were on a scale of um, Young Bucks to the Usos. What scale are they? Like as in 1 to 10. And guys, I hope they lived up to everyone's expectations. They were exciting. That was awesome. But the one thing I didn't expect was Jey Uso, and I'm no yeet on Jey. I don't think he's a main event player. I don't think he is ever going to win the world championship or be in main events. That was fun while it lasted, but I will say this: he, for the first time ever, he got me invested in one of his promos last night. It's hard for me to enjoy Jey Uso. I don't buy him, but last night I
Wow.
felt real. It felt super real. Like, why'd you got to bring him in? We were told not to talk to Jacob. Like stuff like that. You can believe. We all have family members. Most of us probably have family members where it's like, hey, we don't talk to cousin whoever. We don't, and I can see that dynamic with the family. And then as he's pulling away with that face to face with Solo, you see, of course, later down the show, Roman and Jimmy show up, and then they have their face to face. And Roman gives the "I'm proud of you" thing, and I just love Jay's reaction. Oh, I didn't like the no yeet stuff can go away. Like it's in a serious role, like in a serious situation, that can go away. That kind of like, but I liked his. Nah, dude, we're not cool. Like you can think we're cool, you can try all you want, but I'm out of here. Like I enjoyed this dynamic. I cannot wait till the moment he does join. I just can't wait for that because we all know it's happening.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm a fan. It's the opposite for me. I like Jay, so I love the crew. Jimmy. Um, I believe that this storyline has put them on that level where Jimmy doesn't have the cliche right now as Jay, but Jay Uso yesterday, I agree with you. First of all, I'm a huge fan of Jey Uso. I am all about the Yeet. I think he's a main event player. I think he's fun. Obviously, there's bigger names right now in the WWE where it's kind of like he falls in the middle right there. However, yesterday he felt like a true main event player on the mic. I mean, right when you said, when he was talking about, why did you bring them? Like, if you're trying to bring the family together, what are these guys doing here? We're not supposed to. That's why we never brought him in. That's why Roman never touched him, basically. And he goes, and he's looking at me. If he keeps staring at me, I'm going to go ahead and die. I love that. I was like,
Yes.
hell yeah, Jay.
Yes, that was great.
I was like, that's the Jay I want, and he could do it. He showed yesterday that he could make a believer out of somebody like you with Jey Uso. Because if he could put that on the mic, where we know he's silly, we know he loves to have fun, it's hard for him to stay serious. And that's okay, in certain points. But for this certain story, it gives that legitimate conflict of interest where it's like, hey, man, I'm still your big brother. Like, I still love you, man. Like, we can work this out. Like, let's not fight, But at the same time, he's looking at Roman and Jimmy and going, fuck, get out of here. Like, you guys turned on me. You cost me the world title. You turned your back on me. I'm not going to turn around all of a sudden and care about you being proud. Like, to me, that was cool. But I agree with you on the no yeet. I get it. I understand why he would say it, because it's like, it's his version of like, no, we're not cool. But I would hold that until he's cool again, like with it. Like, I would rather go, nah, and just walk away. And then, like, once they're good, and then you kind of play with it, because then it's fun again. I said it earlier today to my brother, and I'll say it here too. And we've talked about this in a debate format too. This storyline continues to be maybe the greatest storyline in WWE history. It continues to be one of the most important. It leaves you invested. I mean, how many years now are we going on this storyline revolving around the bloodline? And now you just add another dynamic into it. You haven't really got into the Rock portion of it yet. He came out, he teased it. We didn't do our review of Bad Blood, which was great. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre absolutely killed it. That's one of the days I almost texted you and say, hey, dude, let's go live. Like, I was, even though this was going on, I was like, it's okay. I'll get through the tears. I'll be crying. So, I can do it. But it was so damn good. My kids were texting me, Dad, are you watching this? Because they were up here and I was down there. But anyway, The Rock coming out, you add a different dynamic to it. Finally, we see what's going on with Kevin Owens and company, with Randy Orton. The flames are starting to come out of there. But the bloodline in general, nothing compares in the world. I don't know if there's a storyline currently. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre is about to close out, but there's no current storyline touching this storyline.
Longevity-wise, no. Importance-wise, so I was talking to Clutch about this on Real Talk Wrestling last night. Our whole main topic is what's next, because I feel like WWE, they have great stories on both shows, and not just for one person, not just for, we're focusing on Drew and CM Punk for the next 3 months, kind of like the competition does over there at AEW. They're more of like, okay, we're going to focus on Kenny Omega and Hangman for a year, and everything else is just going to be a mess. Whereas WWE has small stories going on in the background, but one main focal point, kind of like a TV show. Like when you watch Game of Thrones, season whatever, okay, the whole point of this season is for Jon Snow to get to the wall, or whatever the case may be. Whereas I think WWE is doing that. Like, this whole main focal point was Seth at first, and then Drew and Punk, and then that ended. So now the bloodline story is really ramping up, because it took a lull, right? It took a major lull during but now it's picking back up again. And I like how they're going into that. Now that's going to take over as the main focal point for WWE. And it feels like they can always do that, because they always have these side stories and the Miz has a story. Even the freaking Miz has a story, like that's how deep their stories go in WWE. I feel like any of them can take over, but this one feels the most important to the entire company. And I wouldn't say it hasn't let me down yet, because the whole when Roman left and Solo, and that was a rough time to get through. But we have to get through the rough times to get to the good times. And I think we're in the good time territory. We're going to see Paulie come back pretty soon, I'm hoping. We're going to see Jay join, possibly, his face-to-face with Fat 2 last night, and Solo set up a situation where he gets cost the title to Braun Breaker and he's getting beat down. And maybe Roman and Jimmy come and save him. And maybe that's what makes Jay kind of change his mind. But I don't know. There's so many things that can happen. And We don't know. We don't know how Sammy get back involved. Does Sammy get back involved? There's so many different questions.
No, 1000%. That's what's cool about this story. You can't really figure out what's going to happen next,
Bobby,
and
2
yeah,
weeks ago, weren't people talking about, oh, the War Games match is going to be Roman, Randy, Kevin Owens, and Cody? Remember, it was going to be the
yeah,
four. That was 2 weeks ago. People were telling us that. Oh, maybe it's not going to be, Jay, because Jay won the Intercontinental title, and people are like, oh, maybe it's not going to be. So like once we think they're zigging, they're zagging, and we can't keep up with it, and all the rumors could be out there. And yes, we knew Raquel was coming back, and there's just some spoilers that just get leaked. But this story in particular, I feel like they're protecting. Have you ever heard a leak from
no.
this storyline? Like really, like yeah, we knew Jacob was kind of coming because whatever, but
Well, there, people getting signed, but other than those three guys, but no, there's nothing that's been like. I mean, again, Jey Uso popping up last night. There was no reports of Jey Uso being at the
mm-mm.
SmackDown arena, even though he's been there. He's done dark matches at the end of the shows, but there was no, and he wasn't going to, and not that he was going to be involved. It was really cool to see, and there was a legitimate excitement amongst the fan base. And again, you just brought up Sami Zayn. That's another loose end, right? Like, makes perfect sense for Sami Zayn to get involved. And maybe it's to a point where Jay says, look, man, I don't trust these guys, but I'm not going to do it unless you join me. I need you to have my back. And then it's like, okay, now we got the four together. And then towards the end, after they win their war games or whatever goes down, that's when they finally hug and unite. And there's a big explosion of fan base, because that's the OG bloodline minus, of course, Solo, who, I don't know, there's a part of me that has a feeling that I could see Jacob Fatu and Tungaloa and the other one. I could see them turning on Solo eventually. I know I butchered the name, so I did.
No, so I do the same thing. That's why I'm laughing. The other one,
there's Tungaloa and Loa Tunga, I think. I don't know. And but I have there's something there that I feel like I could see them turning on him. Like I have this little suspicion, and where I don't know. Anyway,
what if Sammy doesn't get involved and they turn on Solo before War Games, and Rock is the fourth one, and then Solo crawls back to Roman? I doubt that will happen, right? Because this is a huge story, and they're feuding. And they really literally hate each other per storyline. But what if? What if they don't get Sammy back? He goes and does something else, and we see Solo crawl back and want revenge on Rock because Rock booted him out. We don't know. Anything could happen. We just possibly, when we think one thing's gonna happen, Paul can turn. Who knows? Who knows? And that's what I'm excited. Does Paul talk Jay? Like, hey Jay, you got to do this, please. Roman needs us. Or does Sammy talk Jay into it? November's coming up in a month.
Yeah,
it's gonna come soon, and it's gonna be here before we know it. So these next couple of weeks of Raw and SmackDown are gonna be awesome. And I hate the crossover, by the way, with Cody over here, and
yeah, I do too.
Because the crown jewel, and it's a terrible card that we're not going to talk about tonight, but terrible card as in it means nothing. As in, there's a giant meaningless belt that they're treating like the Stanley Cup, and Cody Rhodes is talking like he's in a god darn play in Roman times, speaking in third person with a lisp. I can't stand Cody, man. I don't want to get into that. I'm sorry. I'm back. Okay, I'm back.
I know. I was gonna say, dude, we're a whole stratosphere.
Did you hear Cody's promo last night? Did you just hear it?
I did not hear Cody. I did not.
Good. You're welcome.
It's good for you.
Yeah, good. It must be nice.
It must be nice. Yeah.
It's just, gosh,
it's hard for me to listen to Cody. It's hard for me to listen to Cody, man. I mean, and I mean, he puts on good matches, really good matches, no doubt. But it's like, I don't know. We talk about the bloodline being like going, oh, I wonder what they're gonna do next. What's gonna happen here? Cody's not. It's like, okay, once we know who his opponent is, we know how it's gonna go. Like, do I really see, like, right now, Kevin Owens? He's like, man, they don't want me here. They betrayed me. Fine, I ain't going back. I don't care. We know he's gonna come back, and he's gonna face Cody, and they may be a triple threat between him, Randy Orton, and Cody. And Cody's gonna come out of top, and Kevin's gonna run away, and then Randy's gonna put Cody Rhodes' hand up, and then he's going to RKO Cody, and then that's going to set up the mega match between Cody and
I don't think we get Randy and Cody till next WrestleMania.
You think they're gonna wait that long?
It would mean so much more if they're friends for so long, like longer. Dude, they've been doing this Roman bloodline story for my entire kid's life. Like, I feel
Well,
like I
that's
feel like
and that's fair. But remember, that's a lot to do with Roman and Paul Heyman. Their thing is projected long term storytelling, and Triple H has kind of adopted that now with a lot of other stories. I mean, look what Bianca Belair and Kate Jade Cargill. I mean,
yeah,
there's long term storytelling where it's like, okay, we're not going to rush into any kind of turns and whatever.
that's what I'm
So
saying.
I think that's okay. I think that's fair. But again, I want to see heel Randy Orton.
Yeah, we want it now.
I
We
want heel Orton.
we want it
You know,
now, and I understand your want, and I want it now too. It's just I feel like when he's friends with, because we're all expecting. That's the thing, is we're all expecting it. So if it goes through WrestleMania, it goes through January, February, March, April, May, and all of a sudden maybe SummerSlam he turns on him or something like that, or like around there. It's got to be a big match, and I think Cody's going against Rock this year. I think Cody and Rock is WrestleMania. I think that's your WrestleMania
well,
match.
the rumor there, I'm sure you've seen that, is that
I
what they
have
have
not.
kind of pencil. Are you cool if I tell you?
Tell me,
I
yeah,
mean, it's their dirt sheets, so
yeah, yeah.
um,
Tell me.
it's only dirt sheets. But right now, the penciled rumored main event of one of the nights of WrestleMania, probably going to be night 2, is Cody versus Rock versus Roman.
Oh,
That's what I saw, is the
okay.
potential triple threat. Um,
See, in that case, then Cody can't lose the title, and I think he'd be burning a heel turn on Randy if he beats Randy that easily. I think if Randy turns, he's got to beat Cody.
yeah.
I think so. I
Well,
think
that
he
puts him
has to
right in
beat
the
Cody.
15 range. He wins. He gets to 15. He becomes a 15-time
Yeah.
champ. He's in that ballpark, and I mean, he has a little more longevity right now than John Cena. I think he said 3 more years or something. So I mean, we don't know what can happen there when we project Cena probably going to take that 16 title. Keep calling him the GOAT. Well, you got to solidify him as the GOAT.
I agree.
So we'll continue from there. Um, what else before we roll on? I
Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say we can get right into the McMahon doc because there's a lot to talk about. But if I can get a minute to not, no, I'm not gonna rant long. Just ask you if you've seen anything with AEW, since we are a professional wrestling podcast. We talk all pro wrestling. Have you seen
Uh,
anything of AEW?
I have. Yes. I've been following AEW a little bit,
Okay.
not like, how I am with AEW, but I
Yeah.
have been following along. Yes.
So you're aware the last time MJF and Adam Cole were in a ring together, right? You know
Hmm.
how that worked. MJF came as a babyface,
Yep.
brainbustered Adam Cole and kicked him out of the ring. Boom. MJF's a babyface. Adam Cole's a heel. Okay, cool. All right. MJF turns heel throughout the months or throughout the weeks of his return, and Adam Cole has not returned yet. Now, I did not have power. I did not see um, this live. I would have. I would have bought the pay per view. Didn't. Couldn't. I could not. I would have, because they had awesome matches. No stories, awesome matches. Well, apparently, I don't know how this worked out, but MJF was in the ring. I think he was beating up Daniel Garcia. Adam
Yep.
Cole came out for the save.
I did
He
see this.
was the heel. He was the devil. He was the one who is the devil. He was the bad guy. And all of a sudden on Dynamite, we get a situation where Adam Cole's cutting a babyface promo. You're a piece of crap, MJF. You're this, you're that. No one likes you. Did we for is Tony does Tony Khan think we're morons and we just didn't watch last year or whatever that was? That's what I'm at. This is the stuff that's driving viewership away. And that's why they're only getting 300,000 people to watch Dynamite on a Tuesday night when it's preempted for, or rescheduled, because nobody cares enough to actually go, oh, it's Tuesday night, I'm going to change my lineup to go watch Dynamite. It's so infuriating as an AEW OG fan from the start to see what has happened. Could you, and on top of that, the biggest star, your world champion, Jon Moxley, is feuding with the Dark Order. Bobby, name one player, name one wrestler from the Dark Order.
Um, Darby Allen. I don't know.
No, not Darby Allin.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I was gonna go because he has black face paint.
So,
My bad.
so Jon Moxley and the big bad world champion and his big bad top heel group, number one heel group in the entire company, according to his stature, they have the trios championship, they have the world
According to
championship.
AEW, yes.
Yeah, they're the top heel, and they're facing the dark. That'd be like Cody Rhodes picking a feud with the LWO. Could you imagine? Could you imagine how crazy we would like? Why is Cody Rhodes wasting his time with less than the LWO? Who's less than the LWO right now? Karrion Kross's group in the
There you go.
AOP.
Yeah.
Could you just imagine Cody just feuding with Karrion Kross for no reason? A bunch of jobber loser people that aren't even on TV ever. It's just so I quit.
So
I quit.
I saw that where MJF was beating on, was it Garcia, Daniel Garcia?
Had to be, yeah.
It was beating him up, and all of a sudden Adam Cole's music hit, baby, and and the crowd was going. They go, he sees a ghost. He has seen a ghost, and MJF is acting all scared, and I'm like, wait a second, wait, what is this? Didn't I just see this reversed, like where it was Adam Cole in the ring and MJF showed up? And look, this is where AEW and WWE are separate on a lot of ways, and it's like you said, it's I don't know if it goes as far to think, oh, the fans are stupid, they won't realize, because god dang it, dude, if you don't I think it's that I can't think that they think the fans are that stupid that fans are gonna forget how this story went or how it's been going. It just doesn't make any sense. How do you do the flip flop? And then I don't know.
And last time we saw MJF, he was the tough guy. Like Adam Cole was the scared one.
Yeah.
That's what you just said. Like, make that make sense. If you want Adam Cole to come back and do the double turn, okay. You can, there's ways to do this. And
it's like,
just wasn't done.
I don't know if it was recent or not, but I just saw a clip a couple days ago with Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone, and I think they were trying to do a Tony Onaki's catchphrase, and they had it playing. I forgot what it was called, but the crowd was completely dead. And he goes, say it again. And nobody's saying anything. And he looks at Tony. He's like, say it again. Tony goes, oh, it was like the most awkward freaking thing I've ever seen. It was horrible. I'll find it and send it to you. Just freaking horrendous, dude.
It's bad.
AEW is such a, I don't know.
Low rent.
Yeah. I saw Mercedes Monet put tweet. She just wrote, I love AEW. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Glad, happy for you.
Yeah.
It's basically a playground for you guys. That's what it is. You're not trying to build stories for me. Oh, I want to make a moment for the fans or whatever. It's up to your prerogative. You're getting paid, but basically you're basically making what to me is you're not making the shows for the fans. You're doing it for Tony Khan, so he could sit in his his golden seat and his golden toilet, wherever the hell he's sitting there and watching, so he could be a fanboy while everyone else is going, what the hell is this? And Undertaker said it recently, and it was so true. And he was like, wrestling matches aren't about the moves, it's about the story. And this is something you and I have been talking about since we started talking about wrestling. When I told you about how I feel about matches, has to tell me a story. And it's so true. Undertaker's like, we're storytellers. That's what it's really about. And when you watch AEW and you're doing all these Will Ospreay flips and dips and all this other crap, and you're doing these moves that should be killers, and you're jumping back up like it's nothing, just to do the same type of move a different type of way. Now it's a 1, 2, 3. It's like, what is this? Like, I don't, I'm not here to see some Circus Olay. I want to see some professional freaking wrestling.
In professional wrestling could be hardcore, as we saw in the Hell in a Cell match between McIntyre and CM Punk. That was how you do a hardcore Hell in a Cell, bloody weapon match. That's how you do that. Every move mattered. When he got the wrenches out Drew, he wanted to induce pain from CM Punk. It wasn't just like, hey, I got a barbed wire tire swing that I'm just gonna swing in. Like, I have a face mask with Taxol on my, I have a shoe with thumbtacks. Like, it was just, everything was for a reason.
Yeah.
And everything made sense. And it wasn't just CM Punk's doing a superplex onto a barbed wire this, and then Drew gets up, and then Drew does a white noise. It was CM Punk getting his ass beat for a very long time because Drew's a very physical man and could in real life dominate him. And then CM Punk fighting his way back because he's a baby face and he's crawling back. Every time he gets a hope spot, boom, gets the high knee in the corner. Drew picks him up and slams him down. And then that makes us have sympathy for your baby face. And when CM Punk finally wins with the chain around his knee, and everyone goes nuts because of what he just did to win, instead of they all just did fucking 10,000 moves to each other. And
Yeah,
whoever is landing on top, whoever lays on the guy on top of the very last move wins. Like that's what it is.
yeah. When I watch it, it reminds me of when even though when I was doing backyard wrestling when I was a kid, I had storylines. I wrote storylines. Like, hey, okay, this is how it go. Hey, Josh, you're gonna win this match. Ba 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 ba. But that's a lot how it reminds me of. Even though at least we knew what the hell we were not what we were doing, but we knew, hey, this you're gonna win. I'm gonna lose. We're gonna do that. That's how it kind of reminds me of. It's like, okay, go in there. There's no real story here. You're just gonna go ahead and wrestle, and make me happy, Tony Khan. It's not like let's make sure because WWE right now, when you're watching WWE matches, it's they're making matches that are going to last a lifetime. When you look at storylines that are going to last a lifetime, the bloodline, we're going to talk about this 10, 15 years, 20 years from now,
Yep.
and so forth. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, a feud no one really had any idea would be how strong it has been. You think Seth Rollins and CM Punk, John Cena. You keep thinking all these other names. No, it was Drew McIntyre. And hey, guess what? Drew McIntyre and CM Punk are probably putting one of the best feuds. Probably have the number one feud of the year. They definitely have probably the number one match of the year now. And you brought up a great point. Well, you brought up a great point.
Yeah.
That in that match, as physical as it was, and Hell in a Cell matches mean very little to me now. It's not the same like it used to be, where I told you that, basically it's a ploy, it's just a distraction. Oh, we're in a cage, we're in a Hell in a Cell. It's not like they're gonna break out and then they're gonna suplex off the damn thing and whatever. No, but this match here made it feel real again. There was a story behind it. It felt like every move had a meaning. They basically gave everyone else in the wrestling community a master class on how to get it done without having to do, like you said, thumbtack shoes and that's
needles in the cheek.
They're getting syringes out and shit. It's like, what are we doing, bro? Like, this is the
cinder blocks.
Dumb, just whatever. Anyway, we've gone on hating on AEW. I didn't mean to go there, but yeah, CM Punk McIntyre match reminds me of wrestling from the 70s and the 80s. I love it. Yeah, a little current flavor to it. But that's what I'm saying, man. That was what was cool about that, Crazy Dolphin. And we thank you for commenting. Everyone who's watching, wherever you're watching from, we appreciate you tuning in, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, on my X or FTSN's X. We appreciate you watching. Moving on. Let's get into this, man. We've been waiting for 2 weeks now to talk about this, and that's the Mr. McMahon Netflix series. And we know we're a little behind, but as you know, I've been dealing with some personal stuff. I'm back. Kimmel's been dealing with hurricanes, the literal hurricane, big one there. But thank God he and the family are okay. And, but now we're here. And we'll kind of discuss some key points. We're not going to go detailed every episode, but just maybe episode and say, hey, this was some key points I saw. Like, first off, there are a few good throughout the show. I'll tell you this. First thing first, it held my attention the whole time. I really enjoyed this series. I really did. I found it funny for McMahon at first in episode 1 before he said he seemed very nervous. He was like, I'm not going to tell you the truth of everything. I don't want to know everything that's coming out. But it's like, yeah, dude, it's too late, dude. We kind of already realized. Yeah. I love how they kept emphasizing this is before everything came out. And you hear the story about the referee, the girl of the referee, and you hear about the Ring Boys, which is it's not current events, but if you weren't really paying attention to all that, you didn't know anything about it. It's kind of like, oh shit, this has been going on for a while. But I will say all of them were good. There was a lot of good, insightful information. We got Vince McMahon's side of the story in regards to the Montreal Screwjob, Hogan leaving, and how much of an impact that had on him going to WCW. The Owen Hart situation, him and Shane McMahon's dynamic and their relationship, how Stephanie was on the higher total pole, and then Stephanie kind of fell off a little bit at the end because of she didn't want nothing really to do with her dad. You learn kind of the weird shit about McMahon in regards to storytelling, which there was that story about the pregnancy, which we'll get into, which is not old news. But again, if you're not paying attention, I will say episode 1 was maybe my favorite just because it's before all this mess. And it gave a lot of interesting things that I had no idea. And, like Vince McMahon Sr. was planning on selling WWE to Gorilla Monsoon. that the plan was after he stepped down was to give it to Gorilla Monsoon and before he gave it to Junior.
Yep.
That was really interesting to me because it's like, okay, I know how loved Gorilla Monsoon was, but obviously, what a major, like if you go back and do the butterfly effect, you give the reins to Gorilla Monsoon, where would wrestling be today? It wouldn't be where it was because you can love and hate McMahon all you want. The fact is, wrestling is what it is, as global as it is now, because of Vince McMahon and what he was able to do. But like I found that so interesting.
Yep.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So I've been listening to other podcasts while I was in the dark, and a lot of it was Jim Cornette, and a lot of it is his analysis on each episode. And I advise you, either you know what I advise you to, if you want to know the real stories behind these episodes, at least from Jim Cornette's perspective, because he was kind of
He was
involved.
around, yeah.
Listen to him because half the stuff that was in this documentary was either embellished or not real at all. The whole Vince McMahon tough deal of nobody thought he could make a payment. According to Jim Cornette, it was a easy deal for him, super cheap, didn't have any struggles at all, and his dad pretty much gave him the company, according to Jim Cornette. But they made it seem like, oh, they had to get it all this stuff, and they risked it all, and Linda was scared, and yada yada yada. It's like, so I wonder, and this goes throughout the entire series for me, not just my influence from listening to episodes before I watched the actual show, but to have my own opinions on things, or hear the Undertaker say this, and then Vince say something totally different. Everything that came out of Vince's mouth to me was a lie, or he doesn't remember, or he doesn't want to tell us the truth, which is a lie. I didn't believe anything that came out of his mouth. There were some things that I'm like, oh, okay, Vince, like, okay, I get it. But when the last episode I just watched, because I just watched episode 6 today, because I was saving it for today, because I knew we were going to do this show. And I wanted that one to be fresh in my mind, because that's the stuff I didn't know about. Everything else, we kind of, if you're a real wrestling fan, you knew this entire story. You didn't learn anything new. But it was good to hear from Vince's perspective. Undertaker getting a concussion. Vince is like, oh, he was just in shock. Oh, Vince, do you just believe your own lies at this point? Trish Stratus, I don't believe a word. You're telling me she's okay with getting on her hands and knees and barking like a dog and being degraded like that? Oh, it got good heat. Okay, how much money did he pay you to say all this stuff or to be happy? I feel like there's Vince sympathizers, John Cena, Taker,
Well, I will say
that will protect him.
Well, let me just say, because to play the advocate the other way of that, because I think you're absolutely right in regards of the Cenas and the Takers and the whatevers. You know, obviously Cena and Undertaker have said it. Undertaker said it all the time. What's up, Joe? That guy's power hungry and an abusive person towards women. Yes, nothing he knew he's a joke, and yes, nothing new he's a joke. You know, like I agree with you, right? I mean, like you say, Randy Orton did it. Randy Orton came out and said it's horrible the things that I saw. It's terrible. Where John Cena was like, I can't really say much. And Undertaker, I don't think has commented on it at all. At least nothing that I've seen. To me, it's not surprising just because of their relationship with McMahon prior. They say, oh, he's a father to me. It's like behind closed doors. It's like, hey, man, I'm disappointed. But in front of open doors, like I got your back. I'm not gonna turn my back on you and whatever the hell. And you're right. You got those sympathizers. They're not gonna say anything to hurt him because they still have a relationship with him. It's the ones that basically. Let me look at Bruce Pritchard. But Bruce Pritchard, I think it's episode 6.
Yep.
Skipping, but Bruce Pritchard comes back after everything. Obviously, it's after, and after he watched everything, and this is right before it all broke. But he's like, I think you guys painted a bad picture. I think you made him look bad, and blah 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 blah. We know how. And I like listening to Bruce Pritchard and his podcast and stuff, and I have nothing against the dude whatsoever. But it's like he's so far up McMahon's ass.
Mm-hmm.
All respect. That first off, he was still working McMahon at that point, and I think right now, even now, without working with McMahon, he's going to say the same thing, just because of that prior. He said it, man. Everybody say this. Like, yes. I'm sure McMahon's done some great things in the past for people he's cared about. Bruce
Mhm.
Pritchard, look, he put his wife in rehab or did something for no, not rehab, but medical
Cancer
thing,
treatment. Yep.
and that's admirable. We know a lot of the things that there are some things. Some bad people have done great things before, but there's still a lot of bad things. You can't erase that. I mean, I'm sure McMahon has done a lot of great things for the Undertaker. We know how close they are, but this, that, whatever. At the same point, though, he's done a lot of bad, dirty things. And when you start to hear these stories about Janelle, the victim or whatever, the situation he has going on, and he's like, oh, they obviously didn't talk about it, but he said, I don't know how many times he kept saying, oh, I love this, I love that, I'm controversial of this, and I love sex, and he kept like he
So
mentioned it
many
a
times.
few times. Like I'm like, how does he set himself up? He was there the whole time seeing it, and then you're watching what he, basically, I mean, again, it's a job, right? And we know Mr. McMahon, the character, was a dirty, perverted, whatever. But at the same time, though, when you find out how the real person is, and you're seeing him with Stacy Keibler, and then Sable came back, all of a sudden Sable had this huge lawsuit, and all of a sudden Sable comes back. Now she's playing his mistress, and you're going, wait a second, I don't want to throw anything out there live, but there's little things that make you wonder. And you go, I mean, the whole Trish Stratus thing, it's like, okay, it was pretty much out there the whole freaking time, and you look at his kids. I mean, Shane McMahon, Stephanie did towards the end, and we all know everybody loves her, most people. She's more ruthless. She's more like her dad in regards of business rise. But Shane McMahon, and they talked about how, I know a lot of people love him. A lot of wrestlers love him. They think he's one of the boys, all this. And they kind of talked about why he was not the hand chosen heir, even though he thought it was. But I don't think it was rocket science to realize that he had issues with his dad. He came out looking really good out of everything.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
I was going to ask you who your favorite talking heads were. Shane was great in this. There's one guy in particular, which you might think I liked. I hated the guy who was constantly against Vince, the reporter. Who
yeah,
yeah. I want to punch that guy in the face. Like if I saw him today, I want to punch him in the face. not just because he's attacking Vince, just wrestling in a hole. I don't like how he treats wrestlers. But who was it? Tony Atlas.
Atlas.
He was so good. He
every time, like they would say, like McMahon would go, that never happened. Tony Atlas would go, that's not true. Like he would like they go, like he goes, McMahon would say, my dad said he was proud of me, and I love my dad, and it was really cool to hear that from him. And all of a sudden, Tony Atlas would come and go, I don't think Vince ever liked his dad. Like God dang, and the Pat Patterson thing, he touched my pecker. Like okay, yep. Tony, what are you doing, Tony?
I feel like Tony had nothing to lose, and he's just told the truth. Yeah, he just told the truth. And there were some people I wish they were on there. Like I wish Laurinaitis was on there. Of course, Johnny Ace, because most of these were filmed before all this came out. I wish, because he was a big part of. He's a big person in Vince's life. He's always been there. There were some people I wish we heard from. I wish we heard more truths. I wish Hogan wasn't on there, because we all know everything he says is a lie. No disrespect to that's just realistic. Like he just tells a lot of lies.
Well, again, remember, again, he's in regards of Hogan too. With this, I felt like same thing with McMahon. It's still sticking to protecting the business. You got to inflate the numbers, I know, and even though he's been saying that for years with Andre the Giant, that I didn't know if Andre was going to do the job, and McMahon, he was like, oh yeah, I had no idea they were going to do the job. I find it always very hard to believe. And then of course they, one says 68 something, the other one 68,000, and then Hogan says 68,999 or something like that. One of the things I found interesting, and I know you said that some of it you think was a lie, was the Dusty Rhodes that he said before Dusty left to go back to NWA WCW, that it was Dusty Rhodes he was thinking about pushing to be his main attraction before he went to Hulk Hogan. Did you buy that at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I was another plug for the same podcast I listened to, but yes, I do believe that. And that podcast I listened to, which I'm not going to plug, they went deep dive into when Dusty went to WWF eventually and had the polka dots and always made fun of him. And Vince took it very personal that he turned it down. Dusty turned it down and said, no, I don't believe in this. And then they went with Hogan. Vince holds grudges, man. I wish they got more into the grudges, because we've seen.
I wanted to know about Randy Savage. That's one of the grudges I've always wondered about, because he was hurt by Randy. Hulk Hogan, obviously he talked about it, which was cool. I liked listening to that part where when Hogan left, even though Hogan was they tried to tag in Warrior and that shit didn't work. And they talked about the Slaughter situation, which was cool because we've discussed that recently, a few episodes back. But when Hogan left, and then Hogan's like, "Hey, I'm going to basically retire." And then Hogan went to WCW because of the money.
Yep.
McMahon's like, "What the hell?" But they never went into Randy Savage, which I think Savage, for whatever reason, hurt McMahon a lot more, just because. I know, he had these rumors that Savage slept with Stephanie McMahon, blah blah blah. I don't know what that is or how real that is, but you saw when he announced it, he didn't announce Hogan. I think they had like a shake hands, hey, thank you for everything. But on the commentary, he's like, this Randy Savage decided not to sign the deal. We're gonna miss him, blah blah. Never mentioned him again until after he died. You didn't even mention him here. They just played it. So that I would have loved to heard that grudge. It was cool to hear Jesse Ventura's thing. I know that's been put up, but I liked hearing McMahon's side of it. I thought that was cool with the whole union thing where Hogan was just a straight up like, yeah, just turned around and went right to Vince. Was like, hey man, they're trying to start a union. And of course, Hogan would do that. Why? Because Hogan has the most bang for the buck.
Yep.
If you start a union, now Hogan and this guy are gonna all have equal pay. It was just anyway. But the episode 1 was really cool and just in general. But go ahead, continue what you were saying.
I forgot what I was saying, but I do want to pivot into another topic if you don't mind. One of my favorite, I guess, talking points of the whole documentary was how they got too popular too soon, and the wrestlers didn't know how to handle it. They're on TV shows choking people out.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Smacking,
when Homeboy smacked the reporter and he sued him for like whatever the amount. Oh, you don't think it's real? We've all seen the interview. And he smacks him. I loved that part of it because I could relate. I have a temper. It's hard to believe. It really is. I have a temper. And, I can imagine smacking someone for telling me that I'm not credible for whatever I do, that I bust my ass for. Roddy Piper, we've all seen that interview. At least I have. Is this real? Shows his bruises and his wrists. Like, I enjoyed that portion of it because it shows how the general public, not only how they look at wrestlers or wrestling or the TV show, but how they view the people that watch it. I've heard so many people like, "Oh, you like wrestling?" We've talked about it before. You watch movies, you watch, Transformers. They look at us as lowbrow people because we enjoy professional wrestling. And I like to see how they finally broke into the mainstream, and nobody still took them seriously. It was like a joke to them to come on the Tonight Show or to come on the daily whatever show it was.
You could. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Hogan can't really wrestle." Hogan choked that dude out. That dude was. Did you see the blood coming from that dude's back? Hogan said, "All right, say win," and the guy never said win because the guy was passing out, and Hogan just went, "Oh, okay, go boom," and Hogan, "You're right, bro." And they go to the next scene with Linda McMahon. Linda like, "Yeah, that was bad." No shit. Coach these people. What are you doing?
We've seen the same thing happen recently with Austin Theory, remember, or Grayson Waller, one of the two.
Yeah.
Right. So it's still happening to this day, but they're now trained to, I guess, handle it a little bit better because
you see, and it happened in the ring. It was Indy. I'll send you I'll send it to you now while you're talking when you respond to it. But unless you saw it, was the Alpha Anoy, and I'm butchering his last name. He's part of the family, the Rocks family, the Roman Reigns family. Same last name as Roman Reigns, Anoy, Anoy or whatever.
Anoy,
yeah. Anyway, Alpha, he's one of the cousins. He's an Indy. He's walking into the ring, and this other guy's in the ring dressed as a Samoan. I mean, hair bushed out like this, wearing the dress skirt, and standing with no shoes. Before the bell is even rung, Alpha smacked the living out of him, like loud as hell. Comes and starts beating shit. He falls out and beats the hell out of him because the guy is Puerto Rican and dressed like a Samoan. And he goes, "I don't know what island you think you're coming from, but I know damn well you're not from Samoa." Puerto Rico went off on him, and I was like, "That's an old school dude. You don't do stuff like that." It's the same thing as like you're making fun of his culture, but that's in the same sense. So back in the day, if you talk, and even now, you saw what happened with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, which respect to them, is that they were wrestling's fake. What did you say? Like Hogan even said it. He goes, no one gave us the memo that wrestling was fake because Hogan shows it on his body with 1,000 surgeries as the Undertaker and all these other guys. their bodies are bruised and battered. So, you could see how pissed they were. Let me see if I send it to you now while you're talking. But yeah,
Yeah,
that was one of those most recent times that recently happened.
yeah, that was probably my favorite portion of the whole documentary was just seeing how wrestling, the rise of it, because I got into wrestling, after it was already popular. I got into wrestling when the NWO was already formed. I didn't get to see that live. I was too young. So I like to see. I mean, I've seen it a million times, but I just like this is nostalgia. Like this, I tell people all the time, hey, you don't like wrestling? That's fine. Just watch this docuseries. Like you guys will watch freaking Tiger King. You guys aren't Tiger fans. Like you guys don't like all like big cats, but you watch that. Watch this. Give it a chance. Like, you'll understand where we're coming from when we watch these shows and we have these connections. And you see how seriously these performers take it. Look at Bret Hart. I think Bret Hart came off excellent. I'm not a fan
Yeah,
of
he
Bret Hart,
did,
but he
right? I
came off
thought so too.
excellent. Man, he looked good. Like he wasn't the normal in the whole Who Killed WCW. It was just they're all idiots. They're all idiots. I think Bret Hart actually had some valuable words and I still don't feel for him in the screw job. I still think Vince did the right thing. I would have done what Vince did. 1000%. That's his I like how Vince said it's my property. Like that's I can't go to my job and go, hey, I worked here for 15 years, but I'm just taking this computer home. I'm gonna go ahead and take this. I'm gonna go get a job at USAA, right? And I'm taking the computer with me. Like you can't do that. Like that you're going to WCW, bro. Do the job.
Do the job. Yeah.
Yeah, so I still stand hard that Vince was right on that one. I like Vince's perspective. It's my price, WWF price, my property. It's a prop. So that was cool too to hear from Vince, in my opinion. You may have already heard that stuff.
No, no, no. I agree, and I'm with you though on the Bret Hart situation, and that's not giving McMahon any kind of praise or whatever. But no, I totally side with him.
I love Joe's comment, by the
No,
way.
it's
Sorry.
true. It's true. Yokozuna played
Yep.
from like he was from Japan, even though he's Samoan. But that's okay. It's all a work. I agree with you, and that's a great point. I think though, that uh, that guy must have just done that because he was going to face Alpha. I think it was kind of like a play because it sounded like it was like a rib, and they were trying to rib Alpha, and he took it the wrong way. I think that's why it went that way.
Okay.
But
I'll
still,
watch
yeah.
it.
And say Samoa Joe is, and he's not Samoan. I'm not sure if he is or not.
How do you think Vince came off on the Owen Hart situation in this documentary?
That was just bad. I mean, when he said that, if it would have been me, I would want them to carry on the show. It doesn't matter about that. It didn't matter if it was you. It wasn't you. It was not you. And if it was you, they would have stopped the show. I mean, let's just be realistic here. They would have stopped the show. I know it's hearsay. I know it doesn't matter anymore because it is what it is. They moved on. They did continue to show and was not fair. You see Jeff Jarrett and Deborah. Deborah looked horrible. I felt bad for her watching that, rewatching that. The Undertaker, you see Owen's blood in the ring. That is always even to today, it's like, it's so hard. And that divided the family. You saw Bret Hart and Owen's wife were close at that end, and but because then eventually McMahon's like, oh, or Bret Hart was like, okay, this wasn't McMahon's fault. And then the wife still holds that grudge to this day. And that's why Owen's not in the WWE Hall of Fame. And I get it. I mean, I know Owen deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. He does. His legacy is that big. As part of the Hart Foundation, all that. But I understand the wife's point of view. Why would it may have been the straps that killed him because they were malfunction, but you put him up there and he didn't need to be up there. It's a risk, and then you continue to show as if it didn't happen. Oh, well, the live audience didn't really notice. We were dark. They saw it. They took pictures. I know it's hearsay now because it already happened, but no, I always think it came off bad. I think McMahon comes off very bad in that situation. I think if they would have came out and said, "Everybody, I'm so sorry. We've had a medical emergency. We're gonna comp you tickets. We have to stop this show." It's hard to say that because again, that's a whole pay-per-view. Everybody's bought tickets. You got to figure out all that. It's just easy to go, let's just finish the show and we'll announce it at the end of the night. In reality, it could have been, you could have done it different. And I think Bruce Pritchard, McMahon, all them saying, "Oh well, show must go on." not in that scenario, not in that situation. It's not like he had a heart attack in the ring and like thank God Jerry Lawler was fine, but Jerry Lawler had a heart attack outside the
Mhm.
ring that one day, and the show could go on then because it's just a medical emergency. You don't know, but this was a tragedy. This is him falling from how many feet, smashing against a turnbuckle. They could have stopped the show. I don't think the man ever looks good when he talks about that.
Yeah, that was awful. I felt like that was, he has redeeming qualities. Somewhat, it's hard for me to find redeeming qualities of Vince. Like, I don't see him as a good father. Like, he cares about his kids, you can tell, and he makes them work hard for it. But the stuff he did to Shane, I think he looked
I was
bad.
just going to bring up the Shane McMahon stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, talk about it.
No, just, again, it was obvious that Shane McMahon and the family, especially his dad and maybe even his sister at some point, you could tell they're close. Um, that he was kind of like quote unquote the black sheep of the family, where eventually he ended up leaving, and now we got to see the reason why. I mean, coming out and saying he had ideas. I mean, again, he put his body on the line. He was basically his dad's shadow. It wasn't
Mhm.
like McMahon, who didn't know his dad up to a certain age and then showed up one day and then got the business from his dad. Oh, well, my kids are going to work hard for it. Blah, blah, blah. Your son's been with you. Like, you raised your son. He's been in this business. And don't get me wrong, right now the business is doing great with Triple H, who obviously was given the reins by Vince McMahon before he even left. But true be told, it's like hearing Shane saying, I never got a real pat on my back from my dad. I never got that. I find that very hard to believe for someone who, to me, there's no real excuse for it. Let me just say this. As a father, you didn't have a dad up to a certain point. You had an abusive stepdad, and there was one point they suggested a sexually abusive mother, even though they showed her old and everything else with Vince. That's one of the stuff that was in there. But not knowing the true backstory of it all, and then Shane McMahon and all this. I mean, we all seen Shane work in the ring. We saw him as a character. We've seen him backstage in the ring. I mean, we've seen him in the ring. I mean, putting his body in a line, climbing on Titantrons, falling down, jumping off the Hell in the Cell against the Undertaker just recently, doing that before that match. I mean, he's done everything about the match with Kurt Angle, and plus what he did behind the scenes as McMahon's son, and not to
Yep.
get a pat on the back, not to say, hey, son, let me sit down, let's show, or hey, son, you know what, man? Thank you for all you're doing. I think you're great, but I think you're too close with the guys to actually be a formidable leader to carry this forward. I'm not ready to give this up. I feel like I'm going to die here, but I don't want to hold this to you. Let
Mhm.
me go ahead and help you go ahead and get started. It's an opportunity. Obviously you did get that opportunity that you got it from your father, because if you didn't know Vincent McMahon Jr. Senior, you weren't going to be Vince McMahon, the promoter. Your dad finally decided to show up in your life, and that's how you got that role. You had an opportunity to do better for your son. They talk about the story with Shane telling his dad, hey man, Ultimate Fighting, it's for sale. It's for a good price. Let's do it. McMahon says, no, I'm not going to do it. They sell for $4 billion later. McMahon, Vince, of course, Shane's thinking, I was like, freaking told you so. And McMahon's like, well, you might take that as a pat on the back, but he could have bought it with his own money, but he didn't have that money. Well, you're his father. You spent that money on XFL, and what happened? It was a bust. So McMahon came off really bad. And again, we don't know the full picture. As you say, there are some sure redeeming qualities as a father that we don't see, but a lot of that stuff that was pushed out there by McMahon himself, by Shane, it comes off like, damn, man. And then you
Yeah.
hear what Paul Heyman said. What Heyman said in that thing about when McMahon said, if you want that to happen, you're gonna have to stick this knife in my heart or something like this, or you're gonna have to take me out like I would have took out my dad, or buy this company for me. Oh no, he said you're gonna have to stab me in the heart to do this. And if you don't, I'm gonna have to judge you on that too. It's like, okay, now you're just being a dick. Let's just be real. So I was
Oh
happy for
yeah,
Shane. Go
that
ahead,
story
Joe.
about him and that story about them.
Yeah.
Yes.
When Paul Heyman
Oh.
was talking about and it showed Vince and Shane talking and Vince looked animated, I'm sure that's not when that conversation happened. But first of all, to have that conversation in front of some like anybody, especially someone outside the family like Paul,
Mhm.
for him to go in front of them and say, Shane, if you want whatever that storyline was that he was pushing, if you want that to happen, you're gonna have to grab this knife and stab me right here in my heart. because that's the only way this is going to happen. And if you don't do that, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it, but if you don't do it, then I'm going to have to judge you too, and because you're not man enough, or you're going to have to buy out this company from me like I did my father, or you're going to have to take it from me like I would have took it from my father. And he like, and then that's what, and then it showed Shane McMahon leaving not too long after that, and it's like it just rubbed me the very wrong, like the very wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand saying, "Hey, son, you know what? I love you. I'm you're so good, blah blah. I just don't see this for you. I really don't, and I gotta protect my company." Like that's a different book. Like I don't think anybody should be given. Like it's like, son, I think I love what you do for this, but I don't see you on the business side. I see Paul, I see Stephanie more as that. Let me see what we can do to get you on another side, and I'm gonna let you have that ball. Now, if you fail running the UFC, that's on you. But I'm gonna help you get that. He didn't do that, So I understand. I remember there was an interview, a podcast. Shane, it was Mick Foley did it in place of Broken Skull one time, and he interviewed Shane, and he said, how's your relationship? I think he said with Paul and Stephanie, Triple H and Stephanie. And he's like, it's fine. He goes, no kind of issues there. He goes, nope. And he goes, since I sense there is some kind of, he goes, no, there's not. And you can keep asking. It's not true. And it was like, but it's obvious he was rubbed the wrong way. I mean, kind of like, and they talk about how Shane was against Triple H dating Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really against it. And now think about it. Triple H is in Shane's spot. Shane was supposed to be that guy. He was supposed to be the next McMahon. He's no longer the next McMahon. Obviously, he's outside of it in general. He's possibly going to AEW. It's just crazy to hear that. And with Stephanie, well, go ahead and talk on Shane. We'll get to Stephanie.
Tony said it best, man. The very last episode, Tony Atlas said, like, Shane's a nice guy. Shane's everyone likes Shane, and he's too nice. And the boys, that business, the girls too.
Yeah.
Once they see, like, look at the Hogans of the world. Once they see that they can do whatever they want to Eric Bischoff, I'm not saying Shane would do that, but once you give an inch, they take a mile. And Stephanie don't play that game. You can tell. You could always tell Stephanie was hard, and you could tell. You could literally tell. She was a climber like her dad. She likes to climb the ladder, and she will step on your head to climb there. Where Shane was, and to all accounts, we've all known this, super nice guy, great dad, great family man. He may not have been cut out to be a boss or to be the boss or to be look at Tony Khan right now. What's his biggest thing? He loves his wrestlers. He hugs them all. He loves them.
One of the boys.
Yeah, he just wants to be one of and guess what they're all doing? They're all doing what they want to fucking do, and then they all suck. Everything sucks. Here's my problem with the whole family business side of it. And this wasn't even covered in the documentary because it might not be true. And actually, them selling to Endeavor, to me, has been the best thing they've done because the show has been. Is it because Vince is gone, or is it because they sold it to Endeavor? Do they have more doors open because Endeavor TKO has more access, has more funds, can go get celebrities and athletes to come on their show? They've had a lot of spots since TKO Endeavor has bought the company. But Vince came back. He was booted out. He came back and said, if I can't run this show, then neither can Stephanie and neither can Shane and neither can Triple H. And he sold it. Like, what a dirt. That's how I feel.
Oh, well, that's great. I mean, that's good segues right into the Stephanie talk because, first off, you hear the story about, I even he admits it, which is kind of crazy to admit or even propose. Oh, well, Stephanie was pregnant. And, hey, what if I'm Stephanie's dad, Stephanie's kid's dad? Like, I know it's a story. I know it's a movie or a show and it's not real. But what? Mm-hmm. Like, that's demented. That is sick to even, because how do you continue that story? Like, does that mean that you fooled around? Did you rape? It's like, that's fucking sorry. I didn't mean to, but that's bad. And then you hear where like Stephanie even said when they brought in Mike Tyson. Well, I don't think Mike Tyson was accused for any of that yet. And you're like, oh yeah, he was accused.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, he was. And she kind of goes, like, oops. But and you see kind of the writing on the wall where when McMahon left, she came in, became chairwoman, right? She was chairwoman with not Tony Khan, Nick Khan. And then as soon as McMahon snuck his way back in, she was gone. She was done.
Yep.
So that tells you where their relationship was at that point, And I'll tell you what, she looks legitimately happier now when she's on WWE TV. You know,
Mhm.
she looks like all is right where she's in a company like she's in. Obviously, we know. I mean, she said it. I'm Shane. I'm sure they all love their dad, but they're obviously very hurt and disgusted by everything that went down. Obviously, Stephanie is, and you know, now her husband's running the show basically, even though it's owned by Endeavor, and he's kicking ass. I mean,
Yep.
truth be told, he's Paul Levesque, Triple H, as much crap that he's gotten over the years being in the inside in, however he got in, they
Yep.
love it. The crew loves it. The guys, the boys love it. They all love it there. And she doesn't, and she looks happier. And I think, you know, if Vince McMahon somehow, some way tomorrow gets cleared of everything and Endeavor says, we're bringing McMahon back, she will drop right back off the face of the earth again
Yeah.
because she is
And
just absolutely done with it.
I don't blame her. I think, we don't know who sent in the tips, but wouldn't be surprised if it was Stephanie herself. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Nick Khan. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Triple H. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised, because it was someone obviously close to Vince that knew all this was happening. Wouldn't be surprised if it was one of the boys who was offered up. Like, you got to think, and we're gonna go. I don't want to go into too deep dark, right? But if it happened once, you got to think it's happened more times than just once. Especially this late in the game. Was Brock the only person that was ever offered sexual favors to sign with the company? Did Undertaker get these as well? Did Hulk get these as well? Did his favorites, John Cena? Did he? We all know John Cena is not, from all rumors and accounts, not the greatest person in the world. Is he? Was he offered these? How many more people that were his children considered as a part of the family? How many more of these acts happened that we don't even know about yet? Not even yet. We'll probably never know. Like,
Yeah.
how many more? And that's what just makes me so sad about this entire situation is we all, we talked about this before, not just me and you, but me and my buddy Chris talked about this before all this stuff came out. He puts on the worst wrestling show weekly. Raw and SmackDown were the worst wrestling shows by far. All you had to do was come out and people are bowing down and cheering him. It's like, dude, you suck. And people just love you, and people are still gonna love you because they don't know, the normal average casual wrestling fan will go, yeah, Vince McMahon, yeah, they don't know. They probably don't know what's happening. And he still gets all this love and appreciation from her. The whole Hulk Hogan said it himself on the very last episode. Where do you think WWE will be without Vince? Oh, it's gonna fall off the face. It's gonna fall off. That's what he said. That's what Hogan said. It's only gotten better. It's only gotten better. I think Vince is getting too much credit for his early days, and we forget about like the second half of his career. He's like all the failures, XFL, the restaurants, the comedy clubs, the everything that you could think of he's done since the Attitude Era has flopped. He's been a failure the majority of his life. But he's a billionaire. So I guess he's not failing too hard. But as in for his product and his brand, yeah, they went public, but gosh, they just got worse as a company. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, I would say I wouldn't say as a company because obviously it was publicly traded
Yeah,
and sold. But I will say absolutely in regards of storytelling, it totally fell off.
just
I mean,
product.
and you're right. I mean, yeah, the product in the ring, right? That's what matters. We know we don't see the back end. Obviously, it was still enough where people were trying to buy their TV rights, and he was able to sell it. He made it public to WWF, WWE, and New York, and then he got it sold to Endeavor when he worked out a deal. Obviously, the back end of it was fine. But the product in the ring, I mean, you said it more than once, it was recycled. It was the same story over and over and over and over and over again. Absolutely. He was living off his past fame. I can understand fans when they saw him. I mean, again, realizing what's true here, WWE, no, not just WWE, wrestling itself would not be what it is if it wasn't for Vince McMahon and what he did at the beginning. Obviously, with guys like Hogan and Savage and Andre and having the idea, oh my God, we got to get celebrities in here, Cyndi Lauper, Muhammad Ali. I mean, everyone else was fine with the territories. Everybody was comfortable. That's why someone like Dusty Rhodes, you said, he's like, I don't see it. I'm going back to the NWA, WCW. He goes to the NWA, and of course, he is one of the greatest of all time, multiple champion with WCW, had amazing NWA, amazing matches with Harley Race and Ric Flair. And if you guys are real true wrestling fans, go to WWE Network, find it, watch it. It's amazing, real wrestling, awesome shit. But he said, no, we're not a wrestling company. We're an entertainment company. We don't produce wrestlers. We produce action heroes. That's why, like, if you watch again, Hogan obviously is the main focal because Hogan was so big at the beginning. If you look at Hogan in WWE, and if you're like quote unquote a wrestling fan, he's nothing close to what Bret Hart and none of these other guys were. Hogan just did a few big moves, got the crowd behind him. Oh my God, he's amazing. He's this big action hero built like a freaking Zeus. Tears the shirt off, leg drop, 1, 2, 3. Oh my God, it's Rocky living incarnation. Rocky Balboa living incarnation. Yep. You go watch Hogan in Japan without all those expectations. He's not like something spectacular. But then you go, whoa, wait a second. Who the hell is this guy? Who's this Hogan? Hogan, he's doing you hold the leg and he jumps up, kicks you in the back of the head. He's doing backflip. He's doing shoulder holds. He's tug holds, take it down, leg locks. You're going, where was this Hogan? Because this Hogan probably could not. I mean, he's not going toe to toe with a Hart, but he could probably have a better entertaining match with a Bret Hart, or even a Shawn Michaels recently. We didn't have that because that's what McMahon implemented. And obviously Hulk Hogan took that into WCW because it worked. That's the facts. The average wrestling fan who loves just, the heroes and they're going to, oh my God, that's all I need. Undertaker come in the ring. That's why Undertaker, people still love Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't wrestle anymore. All he has to do, choke slam, tombstone, walk out, he's done.
Yep.
You're going to pay money to see that.
Yep.
Undertaker, the promotion could be right now. Undertaker's coming back. Main event WrestleMania. You're going to face Cody Rhodes. Holy crap. Oh my God. Comes in the ring, choke slam, tombstone, 1, 2, 3. Guess what? The Joshes of the world might go, what the hell was that? And I'll say this. The Bobbies were about, dude, that was epic, man. Choke slam. Oh, the Undertaker.
Of course you would.
I'm not really.
No, you would though. You would though. Because I might if it's Cody Rhodes. I'm hell yeah, brother.
But what I'm saying is that's what he built. And he can wave that. And guess what? It made wrestling mainstream because if McMahon wasn't there and he didn't have the Hogans and the Machos and the Rowdies and the whatever, wrestling would not be what it is.
Yep. Tony
Tony Khan would probably be promoting European boxing somewhere right now for his daddy's thing. And Vince McMahon would probably still be living in a trailer park in wherever he's from. It just what it is. And wrestling would still be territories. We'd be talking about, did you see it would be Memphis Wrestling, right? Oh, Jerry Lawler, man. Oh, I hope Jerry's okay, man. He's the god of wrestling. No, he ain't, dude. He's only in Tennessee. It's what it is. But because McMahon came in, so that's where you give flowers. So that's why I can understand some fans still be like, oh, blah, blah. Now it's like, yeah, but see, there's two coins to this. Yes, he is the father of professional wrestling. He made wrestling what it is. Okay, the AEWs and TNAs and the WWEs and all that other world exist because of Vince McMahon. But that doesn't negate the fact that what he did was bad. And you threw names out there. I get it. Like, hey, what? And it's not really, you're not saying, oh, you're accusing anybody. But what you're saying is, it's like, where else did this go? Obviously, Brock Lesnar's a different beast, no pun intended. He's a bigger name. It's harder to get him to whatever. But it's funny you said that because when I'm watching this doc and I'm seeing how Sable had this, she was like sexual harassment, all this. She leaves, they settle. And all of a sudden she comes back and she is his mistress as she comes back.
Yep.
And then I don't know if you recall, there was an episode, and I got to find the clip of SmackDown when Brock Lesnar was on SmackDown. And I think McMahon was the one like, oh, Sable's in the room. You want to spend some time with Sable? And he opens there and Sable goes back and he goes in that room. And it's supposedly, you get the innuendo. So when she came back after I saw that, I started going, damn, what if Sable was like that? Maybe that's how Brock can say, I don't know. Because we know Sable was with Reno Mero. Forgetting his name what was his name in WCW? Well, Reno Mero. He's the boxer. I'm trying to remember him, but he was Sable's first husband.
I know exactly who it is. It's Mark Mero.
Mark Mero. Yeah.
Yep.
Mark Mero. But and he was like, oh, he couldn't get a hold of his wife, and all of a sudden he found out, oh, she's messing around with Brock. So thank you, Joe. So I don't know, dude. I hate to say stuff like that, okay, guys. And this is total just thinking, but that's like what you're saying. a part of me thought that. I got to find that clip because I do remember a clip of McMahon saying, "Oh, go," and he goes in the room with Sable in there, and then but it hit really close to here. I'm gonna find it and I'll send it to you.
It's just the Vince yes men, and they're all the same people. It's always gonna be Cena. It's always gonna be Taker. It's always gonna be the same people. And then you got the Vince, people that talk about Vince in a different way.
Yeah, he
I,
looked like
you
Little
know,
Richard. He's a good dude, man. He was
yeah,
fun. He was a good dude. He is a
and,
good dude.
I about said about pretty much everything I'm gonna say on this documentary. It was great. It was for. I will say this, and I told my friend who watched it, who doesn't really watch wrestling, he loved everything about it. And he's like, "Yeah, did you know?" I said, "Yeah, this was all this stuff was knowledge. Like I didn't learn much of anything. I learned a couple things, but this was great for anyone to sit down and watch, like they would do a Tiger King or like they would do some random documentary about anything. This was great. This is well made. This was well produced. The talking heads were all relevant. Bruce Pritchard, Shawn Michaels, they were all relevant. Bret Hart, it was what we wanted. You even had the heels. You had the guys that the reporters against Vince. You had Bob Costas in it, right? That was cool. I love
Yeah,
him. We got to see a bunch of different perspectives, and you really got to see the narcissism of Vince. You really got to see how he thinks everything he did was great, and everything he did, and nothing was wrong. And if it was a problem, it was someone else's. That's how the vibe I got from Vince. He's a 1000% the biggest narcissist in the world, and we got to see it firsthand because he doesn't really sit down and do interviews like this.
and I'll tell you what too, you're so right, and I will say I like that Eric Bischoff was a part of this. When they put Eric Bischoff in there and he offered the other end of it. When I listen to Eric Bischoff, I don't get that vibe at all. I always he will admit like, "Oh, I did that. I probably did that wrong," or blah 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 blah. But like when I was listening to both of them, it was like true left, like two opposites. Like, and I liked when he when Bischoff said what they did was what we were doing. They just did it better.
Mhm.
And Big Man's like, well, if he thinks we did it, copied him, all right, whatever. Then it's like, it's like, come on, Vince, are we serious, bro? Like, it just, that was like you said with Bret Hart. Bret Hart came off really good. We've talked about Bret Hart sometimes being a little too bitter. But to me, Bret Hart was perfect. And when he said Undertaker, I think who said it? They said that they locked up. But Bret Hart's like, he said, I just got an uppercut right there and
Uh,
sent them flying. And you see McMahon going like, oh, this is coming out. I'm like, it's such a,
Vince. Oh, that side of the story. Vince is like, oh, I'm gonna let him hit me. I'm gonna let him knock me out. Oh crap, dude!
yeah,
No one just goes like, man, I feel bad for what I did. You could just knock me out. No, Vince probably went in there going, you
I
son
did
of a
what I had to
bitch.
do. And
Yeah.
yeah, ready to fight. And McMahon, Bret Hart went, oh, fucking shut the hell. It's like, shut up, man. You got knocked because Undertaker said it. He said, no, and Bret Hart said, he goes, I don't know this whole thing about him just coming and taking a punch. I think Bret Hart was one who said, it was like, we locked up. And then I just thought, what was the easiest way? And he said, I went up
Dude.
and just uppercut him, and it's perfect.
I love how
Um,
they're like Vince thought he was gonna be a baby face coming out of this after he did the whole. It's like, dude, how that just shows you, and it goes on to later in life after the whole stuff comes out. And he comes out on SmackDown just to see how the crowd reaction is. Such a narcissist thing. You're starting to believe your own lies, and you're thinking you're invincible. Even to the Janelle Grant situation, you think you're invincible.
that's
That
what it was.
is the
Was
biggest like I can't stand that in people, and that's he's that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Joe. Now that I remembered, when Eric Bischoff said a lot of the stuff WWE did was because of WCW, the McMahon character. Eric Bischoff was already a bad guy at that point. He was already the bad boss. There was no
Mhm.
bad bosses in professional wrestling before Eric Bischoff. And that's when McMahon said, well, if he thinks we copied him, obviously we did it better. But it's like, man, you could obviously come on. We know you were watching WCW. You admitted you were watching WCW. That's why you tried to sue WCW when they were saying Nash and Hall were the outsiders. And you were like, damn, they created NCW, the NWO. Let's make DX.
Mhm.
It's just what it was. Obviously, thank goodness for you, you had people like The Rock and Austin show up and totally blew the roof off. Um, Joe says WWF completely copied WCW. It was funny as hell when Hall and Nash gave away finished matches in the last hour of the show. Yeah, well, that was Eric was totally Eric was
Mm-hmm.
was messed up, man. Eric's like, don't turn on the other channel. This is what happened. You're like, damn.
I think it's
Anywho,
awesome.
it was great. It was a good watch. I hope there's more to come. I agree though. A lot of it was it had to be because that's how they are,
Mm-hmm.
especially those old heads, man. We got to remember those guys all are about inflating their egos, inflating the stories. They want to leave the mystery. It's not like some of these guys nowadays, like the Hardys and especially Matt Hardy and these other guys when they just when they're or any of these current guys when they like CM Punk, they're shooting. They're usually shooting from the hip. They're telling you straight up, man, I did this, this, and this. They might be bullshitting here and there, but a lot of it usually is straight to the point. There's no kind of inflation there. Where guys like, oh, Mankind was absolutely underrated. Obviously, Mick Foley. Mick Foley was one of the greats.
Mm-hmm.
But check out his work in ECW or even in WCW as Cactus Jack. Mick Foley is up there. But when you listen to guys like the Hogans and the McMahons and any of those old guys, old heads, they're very inflated ego type of individuals. And they will when they say things, it's you could always tell. Even Bruce Pritchard, he was another one. I mean, they love to inflate the numbers. They want to make it sound bigger than what it was. Rock is an old head and type the way of the Rock is. Rock is one of those type of guys. You always got to take some of the Rock stuff with a very thin grain of salt when he's telling a story. Oh, that's when I was head and it was big. Oh, it's like, was it though, Rock? Was it?
Yeah.
If I listen to Austin, a lot of shit Austin says, I feel is true. I never take Steve Austin as somebody who's going to bullshit you, and I always take everything with a grain of salt. DTA, no trust anybody. Thank you, Stone Cold. But still, when you hear The Rock, he's one of those dudes, and you just got to take everything with a very thin grain of salt. What was it? Very quick before we wrap up now. Oh,
While you think about that, I'm going to talk shit about Austin real quick. I always respected this guy.
Oh, CTE.
What a moron. What a moron.
That's an old head.
I'm sorry. That's just idiotic. And that's one of the greatest things. And I don't know if it was Vince's idea. He might take credit for it, but they're a publicly traded company at that point. I'm sure someone had to step in and say, hey, we need to get this implemented because we got a lot of wrestlers dying and we got people killing their families. And I liked how they did. And Taker's an old head, but man, he believes in CTE. He needs to talk to Austin like, yo, bro, like I still believe in old school stuff too, but dude, I got a concussion first. I hated the way Austin looked there. I hated it.
Yeah, he totally took the mask off there. He kind of showed like, and I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's like it's one of that saying, you don't want to meet your heroes, and not that makes Austin a bad guy in any sort of way. No way. But right there, it's like, come on, dude. We know CTE exists, and we don't. And yeah, obviously Chris Benoit had a lot of CTE, and how did that implement the whole situation that happened? We'll never know, but we know there's evidence there. For him to come out and say, I've had multiple concussions. I don't have CTE. I don't believe in CTE. It's not whatever. It's like, damn, dude. It's like there's a time and a place, and I don't think now is time to play. Even though, hey, you know what? I'm not going to manipulate your beliefs. If that's what you believe, all credit to you. But still, it doesn't make you look good because it's obvious.
Sounded really dumb. Yeah.
Yeah. It made him look again. But to me, I would say it's an old head, and I agree. Undertaker's an old head because Undertaker's one of those guys, and but he doesn't. Undertaker's another one I don't see as an inflate. I don't ever take here somewhere he's an inflate something to make it bigger than what it was.
No, he just makes things uncomfortable. Back in my day, we used to bring guns and cocaine to the locker room. Now they're all playing video games. Oh, that's a problem? Like that we're like, oh, sorry, we don't have our guns today. We have our PlayStation 5 instead, and we're not going to kill someone just because I have to go over or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
I just can't stand the old school thinking. I'm not old, so I guess I don't relate. I can't relate to that. I can't.
He's old school. I would say I got my bell rung, not a concussion. Yeah. Austin shoots straight. The Rock takes some curves. I like that. Well, guys, look, we're about an hour and 20 in. I'm very happy to be back and doing this, especially doing this show with Josh. I do a lot of shows, but this is right there as one of my favorites just because it's, I talk a lot of sports. Josh talks a lot of sports. And it's, like it's kind of consider wrestling a sport depending. But this is more fun because it's more loose and, we have a ball. So glad to be doing this next Saturday. Might be at a different time. Could be. It's more likely going to be it's going to be earlier. So keep your eye out.
Mhm.
We'll talk on recent events of wrestling, some dirt sheet stuff, and catch up on other stuff too. Josh, any final thoughts?
Yeah. Again, thanks for everyone that's watching. Thank you everyone that's been commenting. Joe, I haven't seen you here before. Stick around. B McD, you're always one of my favorites. And Crazy Dolphin, you're here every week. So I appreciate you guys. Everyone else that's watching that hasn't commented, just drop a like for us, man. It really helps out the show. I know I'm doing Bobby's job right now, not because he asked me to or anything. I haven't done this in a long time. And I feel like I've been on vacation. I called it on vacation when had no power, sitting in 100-degree heat with the hurricane happening. I'm back to reality, and it feels good to be back, man. It feels good. I can't wait to watch football. I was deprived.
Hey, Hurricanes won today. I felt good about that. Miami Hurricanes. It was a great game. It was a fun game. Dolphins play tomorrow. I got to get you. I know you are a Dolphins fan, so I got to ask you very quick. Your game prediction for tomorrow: Miami Dolphins versus Indianapolis Colts. You know, Tyler Huntley is starting. They can't score over. They only got 15 points last week or the week before. They haven't got over 20, even with Tua. But they face now. Again, I said this earlier today. I believe that if Joe Flacco was playing Miami, that I would feel a lot worse about tomorrow's game. But because it's Anthony Richardson and he's throwing a lot of picks and all that, even though his legs hurt Miami, I feel better for Miami tomorrow because he's starting. I have it 16. No, yeah. I have it 16. No, 17-16 Miami tomorrow.
I got Colts winning. I don't see the Dolphins win another game until Tua comes back. It's been, not to go too long on this. And if there's any Dolphins fans, hear me out. How infuriating. I'm sure you guys all know this because I haven't talked to anyone in a long time. How infuriating to see when the backup quarterback comes in for Carolina, for whoever, just name a team. The team gets better. And when the backup if Tua doesn't get the anonymous MVP votes this year, because clearly he's the most valuable player in all of football, because they go from a top 10, top 5 team in the AFC to literally the worst team I've ever seen play football. It's sad. I'll leave that at that.
I think that's absolutely fair. I talked about that again earlier. I take that as a knock on Coach McD. I mean, when you look at teams like the Titans, their guy comes in, they win. They're Mason Rudolph. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, Russell Wilson goes down, Justin Fields come in, they win. Same thing with the Packers, Malik Willis, they win. Miami, Skylar Thompson come in, looks like he's never played a game of football in his life. I'll never understand that.
No, he's never watched football, Bobby. He doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't know the rules. That's how I feel. Like they just grabbed a guy. Hey, do you want to play sports? You want to go run? Yeah. I'll go play sports with you guys. Cool. You're the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins this week. That's what I feel like they're doing.
Okay. It's like, I know. I give that as a knock to Coach McD. How do you not? This guy's been in your system for 3 seasons. He should be looking sort of adequate. I mean, I'm not expecting him to be, Brock Purdy or nothing, but geez, dude, like, be a play the damn game correctly. Anyway, we're going off topic here. This is No Holds Barred Wrestling. We could talk football all day. That's what we usually do. But anyway, that's the one and only Josh Kimmel. I'm Bobby Finstock. We'll talk to you guys next weekend. I would usually say fence up, but elbow drop.